The Valkyrie had been watching the stars for 60,000 years. In all that time, they had found 12,000 species that could think and speak and build things. They knew how to sort these species into categories. Plant eaters were usually peaceful. Meat eaters were usually aggressive. Species that ate both usually fell somewhere in the middle. The Valkyrie had turned this knowledge into an empire that stretched across half the galaxy. When their survey ship found Earth, they expected nothing special. The planet was nice enough. Blue water, green land, white clouds. The kind of world that often produced life. Their scanners found the dominant species quickly. Bipedal, warm-blooded, omnivorous, soft skin with no armor. No claws worth mentioning. Teeth that could barely tear meat. Their young took more than 10 years to become useful. By every measure the Valkyrie used, these creatures should have been prey animals. Senior cataloger Thren studied the data for 3 days. Something bothered him, but he could not name it at first. Then he looked at the planet's history and felt the first touch of cold fear. Earth had once been home to giant predators. Huge cats with teeth like knives. Bears that stood 3 times the height of a human. Wolves that hunted in packs across frozen lands. Sharks that had ruled the oceans for millions of years. These were the creatures that should have dominated. These were the apex predators. They were almost all gone. The humans had killed them. Not with claws or venom or strength, because they had none of these things. They had killed them with patience and sharp sticks. Before they discovered metal. Before they built cities. Before they learned to write. When they were still living in caves and wearing animal skins, they had already begun the work of removing everything that threatened them. Thren found records of something called persistence hunting. Humans could not run fast, but they could run far. They would chase an animal for hours, sometimes days, never stopping, never giving up, until the creature collapsed from exhaustion. Then they would kill it with simple tools. No other predator on the planet did this. No other predator had the patience. He wrote a report recommending caution. He suggested that humans might be more dangerous than they appeared. He noted that any species capable of eliminating its natural predators before achieving technology deserved careful study. The diplomatic corps read his report and dismissed it. The humans had only recently discovered faster-than-light travel. They were newcomers to the galaxy. They had no fleet, no empire, no experience with galactic politics. They could be managed like any other young species. The Valkyrie sent their standard greeting. A massive ship appeared in Earth's orbit, larger than any human vessel. It demonstrated weapons that could crack a planet in half. It showed shields that could stop any attack. The message was clear without being spoken. We are powerful. You are not. Join us. Accept your place, and you may survive. The humans watched the demonstration calmly. They did not panic. They did not surrender. They did not attack in a fit of desperate pride. Their leaders gathered and talked and studied the ship with their instruments. Then they sent a simple message. They said thank you for the visit. They said they were honored by the invitation. They said they would like some time to consider their options. The Valkyrie granted them observer status in the galactic community. This was standard for new species. It allowed them to watch and learn without having full membership or the responsibilities that came with it. Most species use this time to adjust to the shocking reality of a populated galaxy. Ambassador Chen Wei was chosen to represent humanity. She was 40 years old, quiet, and patient. She smiled often but said little. The other species at the Galactic Council thought she seemed pleasant but unremarkable. She asked simple questions. She took careful notes. She never argued or demanded or threatened. Thren watched her from across the council chambers. He had been overruled, but he had not forgotten his concerns. Something about the human ambassador reminded him of the persistence hunters in his research. She had the same quality of calm watchfulness. She moved through galactic society like a predator that had not yet decided to hunt. The first year passed. The humans built no warships. They made no aggressive moves. They traded fairly and kept their agreements. The Valkyrie began to relax. Perhaps the catalogers had been right after all. Perhaps humans really were just another young species learning their place. But Thren noticed things. He noticed that human traders appeared on more and more worlds. He noticed that human scientists asked for access to every database they could find. He noticed that Ambassador Chen Wei attended every council meeting, every negotiation, every cultural exchange. She was always watching, always learning, always taking notes. One evening, Thren approached her at a diplomatic reception. He was old enough to speak his mind without caring about politics. "You are not what you appear to be," he said. Ambassador Chen Wei looked at him with those strange forward-facing eyes. Predator eyes, Thren realized. Humans had the eyes of hunters, not prey. "Neither are you," she said. "You wrote a report about us. You recommended caution. You know about that? We know about many things." She smiled again, and Thren felt the cold fear return. "We are a patient people, Senior Cataloger. We like to understand things before we act. What are you trying to understand?" "Everything," she said. "We want to understand everything." She walked away before he could respond. Thren watched her go and felt certain that something important had just happened. He was not sure what it meant yet, but he knew that his report had been right. The humans were dangerous, and no one in the Empire was taking them seriously. 3 years passed after first contact. The humans remained quiet and polite. They accepted observer status without complaint. They built no warships. They made no threats. The Valkyrie stopped worrying about them and focused on the usual business of Empire. Ambassador Chen Wei continued her work. She attended every meeting. She asked questions that seemed simple, even foolish. How did the Valkyrie maintain their power? What happened to species that could not pay their tribute? Why did certain groups control the trade routes while others did not? The diplomats from other species smiled at her questions. They thought she was naive. They explained galactic politics the way adults explain things to children. They did not notice that she never asked the same question twice. They did not notice that her questions grew more specific over time. They did not notice that she was building a map of every weakness, every grievance, every hidden conflict in the galactic order. On Earth, things were changing. Human engineers took apart every piece of alien technology they could legally obtain. Some pieces they could not obtain legally, so they found other ways. Within 2 years, they understood faster than light travel well enough to improve on the Valkyrie designs. Within 3 years, they were building their own ships, but not warships. The humans built freighters and passenger vessels. They built medical ships and science stations. They offered their services to anyone who wanted them. Human doctors treated alien diseases. Human traders carried goods between worlds. Human teachers opened schools on a dozen planets. The Valkyrie saw this and felt pleased. The humans had found their place. They were useful workers, clever enough to be valuable, but too weak to be threatening. This was how young species were supposed to behave. Thren was not pleased. He was very old now, but his mind was still sharp. He watched the humans spread across the galaxy and saw something that worried him. They were not just working. They were making friends. They were learning languages and customs. They were becoming part of communities on every world they visited. "They are patient," he wrote in a new report. "They are building something, but I cannot see what it is." No one listened to him. The Empire had more pressing concerns. Ambassador Chen Wei was 50 years old when she made her first real move. She visited the Rethki homeworld, where the insectoid workers lived in vast underground hives. The Rethki had served the Valkyrie for 2,000 years. They were hard workers, but the Empire kept their population under control by managing their breeding hormones. Without the hormones, the Rethki could not reproduce. They were completely dependent on their masters. Chunwei brought a gift. Human scientists had developed a synthetic version of the hormone. It worked just as well as the natural compound. She offered it to the Rethki freely, without asking for anything in return. "We believe all species should control their own futures," she told them. "This is a gift from the human people." The Rethki did not know what to say. No one had ever given them anything without demanding something back. They accepted the gift cautiously, not sure if it was a trick. It was not a trick. It was a seed. Chen Wei visited other species over the following years. She found the Morrow, an aquatic people trapped on their homeworld because no one had built ships that could support their needs. Human engineers arrived with modified vessels that could carry Morrow passengers anywhere in the galaxy. She found the Then, a warrior species that had been crushed in a war 1,000 years ago. They had turned their aggression inward, fighting among themselves, their population shrinking with each generation. Human psychologists recognized their pain. They offered to help, not as masters, but as friends. Species after species, the humans found the forgotten and the oppressed and the abandoned. They offered help without conditions. They asked for nothing but friendship. The Valkyrie finally began to notice. They called Ambassador Chen Wei to explain herself. She was 60 years old now, gray-haired but still strong. "What are you doing?" the council demanded. "We are making friends," she said simply. "You are interfering with the internal affairs of client species. We are offering gifts. Is that against your laws?" The council members looked at each other. It was not exactly against their laws. They had never needed laws against generosity. No one had ever tried to use kindness as a weapon before. "You are destabilizing the order we have maintained for thousands of years," one of them accused. Chen Wei smiled. "The order you maintained was based on fear and dependence. We are simply offering alternatives. What do you want? Territory? Resources? Political power? We want a galaxy where every species can choose its own path. We want fairness and cooperation instead of domination and fear." The council laughed at her. These were the words of dreamers and fools. The galaxy did not work that way. Power was the only thing that mattered. "You have no power," they reminded her. "You have no fleet. You cannot threaten us." "We know," Chen Wei said. "We are not trying to threaten anyone." She left them confused and angry. They did not understand what she was doing. They could not imagine a strategy that did not involve force. But Thren understood. He found Chen Wei as she was leaving the council building. "You are not building a fleet," he said. "You are building an alliance." She looked at him with respect. "You are the only one who sees it. The Empire will try to stop you. We know. But it takes time to move an empire. We are faster than they think. You have been planning this from the beginning." We've been planning this since we saw your ship in our sky," she agreed. "We knew we could not fight you. So we decided to make fighting unnecessary. 20 years had passed since the humans first met the Valkyrie. Ambassador Chen Wei was 70 years old. Her hair was white and her step was slower, but her eyes were as sharp as ever. She had spent half her life building something that no one else could see. Now it was almost complete. The Valkyrie Empire began to notice problems. On the Rethki homeworld, the population had grown beyond anything the Empire expected. The synthetic hormones had worked perfectly. The insectoid workers were no longer dependent on their masters for survival. They still performed their duties, but they asked questions now. They wanted to know why they worked so hard while others enjoyed the benefits. The Morrow had become travelers. Human-built ships carried them across the galaxy, and they discovered something they had never known. Other aquatic species existed, isolated on their own worlds, just as the Morrow had been. The humans introduced them to each other. For the first time in their history, the Morrow were not alone. The Then were healing. It was slow work, undoing 1,000 years of trauma, but the human psychologists were patient. Young Then warriors began to remember the pride their ancestors had felt. They began to ask why their people had accepted defeat so completely. Dozens of species were changing in small ways. Human teachers had opened schools on 50 worlds. Human doctors had treated millions of patients. Human traders had built networks of commerce that did not depend on the old power structures. Everywhere the humans went, they left behind friendship and possibility. The Valkyrie Council summoned their military advisors. They had ignored the humans for too long. Something had to be done. We will make an example of their homeworld, the Supreme Commander decided. A show of force will remind everyone why the Empire must be obeyed. The fleet gathered. 300 warships, more than enough to destroy any world. They moved toward human space with the slow confidence of absolute power. Ambassador Chen Wei received word of the fleet's approach. She called a meeting of every species that had accepted human friendship over the past 2 decades. Representatives from 40 worlds answered her call. They gathered in a station that humans had built in neutral space. The Empire is coming for us, Chen Wei told them. We cannot stop them alone. We have no fleet, no weapons, no way to fight 300 warships. The representatives stirred uneasily. They had accepted human help, but they had not expected to face the Empire's wrath. What do you want from us? The Rethki ambassador asked. I want you to choose, Chen Wei said. Not for us. For yourselves. You can remain silent and watch the Empire destroy us. No one will blame you. The Empire is powerful, and you are afraid. Fear is reasonable. She paused and looked at each of them. Or you can stand with us. Not because we asked you to. Not because you owe us anything. But because you believe that the galaxy can be better than it is. Because you are tired of living in fear. The room was silent for a long moment. Then the Rethki ambassador stood. My people have served the Empire for 2,000 years. We have worked and suffered and died for masters who saw us as tools. The humans gave us our freedom without asking for anything. We will not forget that. The Morrow representative spoke next. We were trapped on our world, alone, believing we were the only ones of our kind. The humans showed us that we were wrong. They gave us the stars. We will stand with them. One by one, the other species declared their support. The Then were last. Their ambassador was a young warrior, barely adult by Then standards. My grandmother remembered a time before the defeat, she said. She told stories of when the Then were proud and strong. The humans helped us remember who we were. They did not ask us to fight for them. They asked us to fight for ourselves. That is exactly what we will do. Chen Wei felt tears on her face. She had worked for this moment for 20 years. She had always believed it was possible, but belief was not the same as certainty. We cannot win a straight battle, she reminded them. The Empire's fleet is too powerful. But we do not need to fight a straight battle. She showed them the plan. It was simple and elegant and completely unexpected. The Empire had built its power on control. Control of technology, control of resources, control of movement. Take away that control, and the Empire would fall apart. The Rethki workers operated the factories that built the Empire's weapons. They could stop working. The Morrow had been traveling for years. They had mapped every jump gate in the outer arm. They knew which ones could be disabled. The Then had been training in secret. not to fight the Empire's soldiers, but to board their ships. They knew how to take a vessel without destroying it, and the humans were everywhere, on every station and every colony, doing jobs that no one noticed, maintaining systems that everyone depended on. They knew every weakness because they had spent 20 years looking for them. The Empire expected to fight a single enemy in a single place. Instead, they would face 100 small rebellions in 100 different locations. The meeting ended with plans made and assignments given. Chen Wei stayed behind after the others left. Thren was waiting for her. "You did it," he said. "You built an alliance without anyone noticing." "We built a family," she corrected him. "That is what humans do. We find others and we take care of them, and we stand together when trouble comes. The Empire will still be powerful. Your alliance is untested." "I know." She smiled tiredly. "But we have something the Empire never understood." "What is that?" "We are not fighting for power. We are fighting for each other. That makes all the difference." The Volcari fleet arrived in human space, expecting a quick victory. 300 warships against a species with no military to speak of. The Supreme Commander ordered the attack formation with complete confidence. The human homeworld was strangely quiet. No defensive fleet rose to meet them. No desperate broadcasts begged for mercy. The planet simply waited. "They have accepted their fate," the Supreme Commander announced. "This will be easier than expected." Then the reports started coming in. On 12 Rethki worlds, the workers stopped working. They did not riot or fight. They simply sat down and refused to move. The factories that built weapons and ships and supplies went silent. In the outer arm, jump gates began to fail. The Morrow had been studying them for years, and they knew exactly which components to remove. Entire fleets found themselves trapped, unable to reach the battle. On dozens of stations throughout the Empire, human workers disabled critical systems. Life support remained functional, but communications and weapons went dark. The Empire's vast network of control fell apart piece by piece. The Supreme Commander received these reports with growing horror. His fleet was cut off. His supply lines were gone. His communications with the homeworld were silent. And then the Then arrived. They came in small ships, fast and maneuverable. They did not try to destroy the Volcari warships. Instead, they attached themselves to the hulls and cut their way inside. The Volcari had never seen anything like it. Their ships were designed to fight other ships, not warriors who climbed through the walls. The battles were short and brutal. The Then had been warriors for thousands of years before their defeat. They had not forgotten how to fight. They captured ship after ship while the Volcari command structure collapsed around them. In 11 days, it was over. The Supreme Commander surrendered his flagship to a Then boarding party. He was brought before Ambassador Chen Wei, who was 87 years old and very tired. "How?" he demanded. "You had no fleet, no weapons. How did you defeat us?" Chen Wei looked at him with something like pity. "You never understood what you were facing. You thought Apex Predator meant the creature with the biggest claws. You counted our weapons and our ships, and you decided we were weak." She leaned forward. "But Apex Predator means the one that survives, the one that adapts, the one that finds a way to win no matter what. Humans have been doing this for 100,000 years. We survived ice ages and famines and predators 10 times our size. We did it by working together. You could not have planned all of this. We started planning the moment your ship appeared in our sky. We knew we could not fight you directly. So we found another way." The Supreme Commander shook his head. "The other species were never your friends. They were your weapons. No." Chen Wei's voice was sharp. "They are our family. We helped them because it was right, not because we wanted to use them. The fact that they chose to help us in return is not a trick. It is how families work. The war was over, but the harder work was just beginning. The Velkari Empire had controlled half the galaxy for 6,000 years. Its fall left chaos behind. Trade networks collapsed. Old conflicts resurfaced. Species that had been kept apart by imperial force suddenly found themselves face to face. The humans did not try to replace the empire. They had no interest in ruling anyone. Instead, they proposed something new. A council where every species had an equal voice. A federation based on cooperation instead of control. A galaxy where strength meant helping others instead of dominating them. It was not easy. Many species were suspicious. Many did not trust each other. Thousands of years of empire had left deep wounds. But the humans were patient. They had always been patient. Thren was brought before the new council to explain how his people had failed so completely. He was ancient now, barely able to stand. He looked at the representatives gathered around him and saw something he had never expected. Hope. "We made an error in our thinking," he said. "We believed that power was the only thing that mattered. We measured strength by weapons and territory and the ability to destroy. We never imagined that someone might build strength through kindness." He looked at the human delegation. Chen Wei was there, supported by younger assistants. She had given 50 years of her life to this moment. "The humans are apex predators," Thren continued, "but not in the way we understood. They are not the strongest or the fastest or the most violent. They are the most persistent. They are the most cooperative. They take care of their pack, and they never, ever give up." The council voted to accept the new federation. The Velkari were given a place at the table, equal to everyone else. Some of them were angry. Others were relieved. Most were simply confused about how to live in a galaxy that no longer feared them. After the council ended, Ambassador Chen Wei approached Thren one final time. They were both old now, at the end of their lives. "You warned them about us," she said. "From the very beginning, you saw what we were." "I saw that you were dangerous," Thren agreed. "I did not understand how. Neither did we at first." Chen Wei smiled. "We just knew that we wanted to survive, and we knew we could not do it alone. So we made friends. Is that the secret? Friendship? Friendship, patience, stubbornness. We call it love, sometimes." She extended her hand in the human gesture of greeting. "Thank you for warning them, even though they did not listen. It meant something to know that at least one person understood." Thren took her hand. It was warm and soft and surprisingly strong. "What happens now?" he asked. "Now we build something better. It will take time. There will be problems and setbacks and conflicts. But we will keep working at it, year after year, generation after generation, until we get it right. That could take centuries." Chen Wei laughed. "We are a patient people." She walked away slowly, leaning on her assistants. Thren watched her go and felt something he had not experienced in a very long time. He felt hope. The humans had not conquered the galaxy. They had not destroyed their enemies. They had simply refused to give up, refused to stop caring, refused to accept that the universe had to be cruel. And somehow, against all odds, they had won. That was what made them the real apex predators. Not their weapons or their strength, but their absolute, unbreakable determination to survive together. The galaxy would never be the same.